Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to DHA Education System. Hope you are doing well. Now we are going to start our lesson number 4 for C1. Before starting a history lesson, we are going to recap our previous lesson, which was about Shah Waliullah, in which we studied about his writings, 51 books wrote by Shah Waliullah. From these 51 books, Hijjatul Balagha and Izzatul Aqfa were the most important books. Shah Waliullah translated Quran into Persian language. He set up a social order on the basis of unity. He inspired people to spend their lives in accordance to teaching of Islam. He requested Ahmad Shah Abdali to defeat Marathas at the Third Battle of Panipat in 1761. Now let's start today's topic, that is second spiritual leader, Sayyid Ahmad Shahid Brelvi. For this topic we have set 3 objectives. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to explain the beliefs and work of Sayyid Ahmad Shahid Brelvi and his main contribution in revival of Islam in India. Then we will identify the reforms of Sayyid Ahmad Shahid Brelvi. Third objective is describe role of Sayyid Ahmad Shahid Brelvi in Jihad movement and his main role in the Battle of Balakot. Before starting the detail, let's have a grip and look which topic we will cover up. We will start our topic with early biographical detail of Sayyid Ahmad Shahid Brelvi, about his birth, education, life after education. Then we will come to the next topic, that is about beliefs, his work, his Jihad movement and objectives of Mujahideen Movement. The main battle, which was the Battle of Balakot, the main event took place in 1831. Then importance of his work, and at the end we will conclude it. Now let's start with the birth. Sayyid Ahmad was born near Lucknow in a small town of Rai Bareli in 1786. His father died when he was young. Education. In 1806 he went to Delhi and enrolled in Madrasa Rahimia. For 2 years he studied under the sons of Shah Waliullah. He learned the Holy Quran and Hadith. Life after education. He was the man of action, then a scholar. In 1810 he joined the forces of Nawab Amir Khan, a Pathan military leader. During this period of life he learned the use of European weapons. He made himself so perfect that he was given the command of a group of soldiers. Due to his piety, he was also made responsible for leading the troops in prayer. In 1817, Sayyid Ahmad returned to Delhi, where his work became important in trying to restore Islam to its original purity. Now we are going to start his beliefs. He believed that freedom of Muslims could only come as a result of armed struggle against the foreign and non-Muslim forces which were oppressing them. Sayyid Ahmad believed that there was need to end the evils that had corrupted Islamic society. Now let's start the works or efforts which were made by Sayyid Ahmad Shahid Brelvi. In 1821, he went to Hajj. Before going, he held meetings with leaders and spread his belief. He started Jihad movement against non-Muslim oppressions. He believed that once this was done, Islam could be rejuvenated. He toured the Punjab and North frontier to enlist the men to fight with Sikh. He traveled thousands of miles to raise the Mujahideen. He established headquarters near Peshawar. He fought many battles against Sikhs. His army was defeated because of bribery of Yar Muhammad Khan and his servant. In 1831, he murdered at Balakot with 600 Mujahideen. Now, the Mujahideen Movement. Sayyid Ahmad Shahid Brelvi started a great movement in the north of India. This movement is known as the Mujahideen Movement or the Movement of Jihad. This movement arranged a power for the struggle of freedom in Muslims, which produced a spirit of survival, and finally they started Jihad. Background of the Mujahideen Movement. If we talk about it, then Sayyid Ahmad Shahid Brelvi selected a particularly way on the command of his spiritual guide Shah Abdul Aziz and devoted himself in the preparation of the Holy War. He started a national movement for this purpose in 1818 and organized this movement after his arrival from Hajj. Now, objectives of Mujahideen movement. He wanted to make the Muslims as the true lover of Islam. For this purpose, he started the Mujahideen movement. The main objectives of the Mujahideen movement were following. Number 1, to preach unity of Almighty Allah, to revive the teaching of Islam and prepare the Muslim to pass their lives according to the teaching of Islam, to protect the Muslims against such acts and ideas which are contrary to Islamic values, to protect the Muslims from the worship of other things except Allah. Now let's start the importance of his work. The defeat of the Mujahideen in the Battle of Balakot was a serious setback for the Jihad movement and its struggle to survive in the following years. The movement continued in the hills of the northwest frontier until 1863, when the British sent a large army to deal with the Mujahideen threat. Even then, the movement survived through the determination of its followers. It was not a movement in order to place a particular leader in power, but instead to achieve religious and spiritual freedom. The Jihad movement was a uniting force for Muslims. Many of Sayyid Ahmad's soldiers had been spiritual leaders or teachers. The Jihad movement is regarded by many historians as a forerunner of the Pakistan movement in India. Sayyid Ahmad's efforts were inspiration to all Muslims in defending their religion, their culture, and their freedoms. Now, we are going to conclude our lesson. Although Jihad movement of Sayyid Ahmad Shahid Brelvi played an important role to finish Sikh rule in Punjab, but it affected the Muslims' frame of mind on a large scale. Mujahideen fought for the cause of Islam even without proper training and sufficient equipment. Greatly inspired by the fearless struggle of Mujahideen, Pakhtuns continued the struggle for freedom against the British. Mujahideen movement paved the way for the Muslim struggle for freedom, and the spirit of freedom led to the War of Independence in 1857. Sacrifices of Sayyid Ahmad Shahid and his companions inspired the Muslims to think about the renaissance of Islam, which ultimately led to the establishment of Pakistan. Now let's start. At the end, we are going to review our topic, whatever we have studied today. Keeping in view whole struggle of Sayyid Ahmad Shahid Brelvi, we can summarize that there were following major aims of this life. Number 1, we talk about establishment of Islamic State. The second, reformation and purification of society from un-Islamic tradition and practices. Number 3, restoration of jihad and raise awareness of jihad among the Muslims of the region. And number 4, to free the Muslims of Punjab from the clutches of the Sikh. For further queries, you can email me at nadianazir@hotmail.com. Thanks for watching.